Welcome back to the BUSR once again here on a Saturday evening. This time out, we go over to Mexico, this time for a sprint weekend, and I am joined by Adam, who's going to run you through what that means for the differences.
So, of course, sprint weekend, and if you haven't joined us already for it, it is a reverse grid race from the championship standings. So that will definitely spice up a little bit. And Mexico City track, which is up in the altitude, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be some dive bombs into turn one, and some certainly turn one in the sprint race is going to be, I think, electric. Do you want to talk us through the grid, Kieran?
Looking at the grid, we have some key drivers showing up today, like the likes of Ben Mills. You've also got Liam Doherty as well, but we also are missing some key figures in the grid. But to run through it in reverse order for the sprint race will be Dom Lab on pole, Freddie on second, Ben Huskins, followed by Tom Hughes, CB12, Alex Hughes, Aaron Geek, Josh Hughes, Dale, Ben Mills, Liam Doherty, Newt, Voiter, and Luke Sawyer, who is at the top on the tied standings, which is not just tied with Luke Sawyer and Voiter, but Luke Sawyer, Voiter, and Newt are all tied. And then after that, Liam Doherty and Ben Mills are tied as well.
Yeah, yeah, very, very close championship standing. Obviously, Christos Pilakouras not here again tonight. I believe he will be back for the race next week at Las Vegas. But yeah, Luke Sawyer, after his first victory in the championship, now starts from the back of the field and has it all to do in the sprint race.
Yeah, having to get back through the grid for the sprint race, it will always be a bit of a challenge. But we've seen it from Chris's Pilakouras, where you can definitely make it all the way back up to the podium. If I remember correctly, last season out at Australia, making it all the way back there. Meanwhile, Oren Lally taking one of their first victories in the entirety of the USR that time around. But it's always a pleasure to watch these sprint races because it throws up a lot of different ways of fighting, because you're not just racing people on similar pace, you're having to get through the field when you don't usually have to after qualifying.
Yeah, yeah, it's obviously you got drivers that are not normally at the front, and seeing how they deal with having no one in front of them and getting faster cars in behind them. And I think the major factor here is obviously Mexico. You've got such a run into turn one with slipstream being a major factor into there, and also how drivers decide to use their energy off the line, whether they decide to save a little bit after the first couple of corners and try and take it into the onto that run into that next chicane, or whether they just decide to dump it all to get that best possible run to get that track position.
Obviously, sector two, basically where all of this technical stuff is all together. The last sector having the arena section with the huge grandstand is a little bit of a breaking point, but almost all of that battery regen will be done in that sector two, with those middle speed corners where they actually get a chance to do some of that regen. Whereas that first sector, big old straight, bit of a corners, big old straight.
Yeah, some long braking zones that will obviously allow for that regen, but you've also got the glorious stage section, like you said, with a massive grandstand, which sometimes you can see a couple of little bit of dive bombs sort of here, there, and that certainly might be a factor in the sprint race as the concertina effect sort of starts to happen, especially with the reverse grid. That might make things very interesting and maybe see some dive bombs or some audacious moves around the outside as well. You never know.
But also, as you mentioned earlier, the altitude creates a huge difference in car setups. It doesn't allow for the same generic flexibility or standard setup types you might expect, as having that thinner air higher up means the engine doesn't breathe quite as well. But you also run less downforce by general, because the more airflow over the car, the more you actually produce in terms of downforce. So you tend to see quite large wings in the real life F1 for Mexico, just because they need to gain some of that downforce, but they're missing back due to the thinner air. Meanwhile, the engines aren't running quite as nicely as they might want as well.
Uh, Making that happen, would have thought they put it into account certainly, but we'll see exactly what goes on. As I'm sure we are soon getting ready for the sprint race.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna have everyone get into the lobby, get gridded up very soon. But when it comes to the setup of these cars, it's gonna be a lot higher downforce, as I said, which is gonna mean the cars can be a bit more responsive. But also the issue is that second sector being so different to the rest, you do have that leniency for someone to maybe streamline their car just a little bit more compared to everyone else and be so much stronger on that main straight, especially with the new systems in play this year.
Yeah, and also with the fact of the matter is, obviously, it being a higher altitude circuit, is the car maybe that's a little bit looser, so we might see a little bit more mistakes in that middle sector, as the cars will be generally a little bit more lively due to that higher altitude, due to that lower air density, and due to that lower amount of downforce in respect. And also, it is like you say a compromise of you've got that massive long straight that in the first sector, both of them are reasonably long, especially the start finish rate is absolutely humongous. Um, so you've also got to sort of weigh in: do I want that top speed, or do I want that middle sector to be feel more comfortable with the car and not make those mistakes?
This circuit also being a circuit that has been on and off of the calendar in a couple of different variations across the entirety of the history of F1. The main thing being difference being it's on the calendar back all the way in the old times of the calendar as well, and then came back onto the circuit in the 2010s once again. It's been a good addition to the calendar, I would like to suggest, with some amazing racing across the season, but also huge late season dramas that always occur, and maybe it can replicate some of those same issues here for some of the drivers. As last week we saw Ben Mills having an incident of their own. We've seen it across with Josh Woolley at Jeddah. We've seen other incidents for almost all of the grid at this point. Obviously, Newt last week, unfortunately, having their wheel break on them, but luckily back here again this round to once again rejoin us.
Yeah, and I think certainly all the sort of top championship contenders will have to be very careful and be on their toes in that first chicane, because that is where it will be quite easily lost is through that first chicane, because like I said, massive run to turn one. Every looks very wide as we are now going to five red lights for the sprint race. Here we go. Five red lights are about to go out, and they are, and it is Dom Lab that takes it off, and it looks like a good start there. I think from the is that a Williamson behind? No, it wasn't. I think it is into second place. It's Ben Huskis as they all drive down into turn one. Who's going to get the whole shot? On the brakes is up the inside. That's Alpha to the lead. I don't think there's as they all go through the chicane, a lot of curb there from Dunlap as they all swing through, but I think we were all pretty much clean, not too much contact as we now head into the second chicane.
See one of the cars cutting the cross at the start of the grid there, and we're seeing the Ferrari going quite slow, falling all the way to the back of the grid of Luke Sawyer once again being a little bit further up the grid, and then seeing the Mercedes. We get the Mercedes. One of the drivers getting forced out very wide, dropping back very quickly. Yeah, that's one of the Mercedes drivers at the back, both now all the way down there, and ADK starting off in the upper midfield as well. That's a very quick drop down from then. As we ride back on with Domlab, Alpha is really starting to pull away. As we know, Alpha can be a bit of a stronger driver compared to some of these, and had a really good start. As we switch on board with Geek as well, the driver just trying to make the capitalization as they go really wide here. I try to cast the curse as heavily as I can, and Liam Doherty getting Gracie with Ben Mills once again. We saw them fighting heavily at Austria. Can they have the same level of aggression here?
It's all backing up through the last couple of corners. We've got a little bit of side-by-side action, and Ben Mills is now trying to make advantage, go to the inside of French Monster. But like you said, Alpha with a start, I don't know, I can't quite remember where he started, but absolutely taken away and just trying to break that overtake mode as Ben Huskis and Domlad go side by side through the chicane, still side by side. Who is going to get the whole shot? A little bit wide there and over the curve there from the Cadillac. But it will just about be Ben Huskis that holds on to second place. But Domlab looking back towards the inside. Can he have...
Domlab there to even have a chance to hold back the position, but have to defend now from the Audi behind. Drags them back off of Ben Huskins, who gets into P2 to try and chase down Alpha before the rest of the grid tries to catch up.
Have you got a blank screen? I've got a blank screen on my screen.
We've got our blank screen as well.
Okay. Well,
Unfortunately, we have had a producer issue on our end, so we can't actually commentate exactly what's happening at the moment. So we'll just try and reset everything for you once again. The race is probably going to be continuing on in the background, but
Yeah.
a couple interesting opening laps. We've seen ADK and Fred Monster dropping down very quickly at the start. Wimel, Alpha, and Geek and Ben Huskers getting a bit of a solid start, trying to make a few positions before those championship contenders catch them up.
Yeah, Alpha just trying to break that gap, obviously quite early on, and uh, it's going to make things interesting. Obviously, trying to break that gap, trying to get into this consistency. Um, yeah, Alpha started. Can't see on that. Is it Alpha CB12?
Hmm?
It's Alpha CB12. Alpha's Alex Hughes. Sorry, started P6. So what a start there um, from Alpha to get up into the race lead from P6 in turn one. So just obviously dump that battery, like I said earlier, and now just trying to streak away. And Geek again started P8 and making some good gains as well.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial though in a 12-lap race to make sure that you can have very solid pace and just be good at defense as well. Critically, in the later stages, it's going to be so important to not let up any positions for free. But with that huge straight, if you're caught with almost any lacking of battery power, it's going to be so hard to make up any kind of defensive effort.
Do you know by any chance if we've got any other drivers streaming as well? I'm not fully sure if we've got any other drivers streaming.
Usually, I'm only sure if Chris has been a streaming.
Okay. Just to inform, obviously, the audience if they are watching and want to know what's going on. Yeah. But yeah, being this is away from getting back online. But we are hopefully going to get back online for everybody. But yeah, strong start there from Alex Hughes, from Alpha, and I'm sure they'll be looking to extend their margin as much as possible.
We will just be waiting just a little bit longer to get into this grid. As we take a pause though, just gonna have to thank, as always, SimStaff Grid Finder Interaction for bringing F1.
Yeah, yeah, very. Yeah. So yeah, massive thanks to Gridfinder and massive thanks to SimStaff and Traction for their support as always. And yeah, it's yeah. I don't know if it's your internet because I don't know about you, Kieran, but I kept glitching on my side.
And big pixels.
Yeah, yeah, I had the same as well. You see, if this was AC, we could see the live timing.
Welcome back, everyone. We had some technical issues and still can't see the screen on our end, but seems like you guys might be able to see the screen at least on your end as the producer tries to get us the feedback as well.
There we go.
Getting back into the race though, a few things have changed, and one of those big ones is some of the drivers have got through the grid. Ben Mills all the way up into P3 already, ahead of his teammate in the McLarens. We know how well they work together as well. Very good friends in terms of working together and being polite to each other in the Discord server for the series as well. But we see Ben Huskins with a 3.6 second lead over Alpha, who might be falling down to third.
Yeah, Ben Huskis has also taken the lead off Alpha, so that's a big change as well because Alpha was leading the way as they now go side by side down the main straight. Ben Mills on the inside, Alpha on the outside, side by side. Who's going to break later? Who's going to get the advantage? Ben Mills takes second place and now has got 5 laps to try and chase down Ben Huskis to get that all-important pole position. Geek there in 4th place, and with Luke Sawyer with a time penalty there in 5th. Another also point of note, Liam Doherty down in 14th place. I don't know if there's been any sort of incident between themselves and other drivers. And also Aaron ADK down in 13th as we go side by side through the chicane and 3 wide between the 2 Hasses, and the 2 cars go wide and also taking huge advantage. I was saying that they were struggling. More contact between Aaron and Alex Lansdale, and there's contact as well as debris goes everywhere. Lansdale has lost a load of front wing and Doherty takes advantage. Domlab goes through as well, but Chaos has just hit Mexico City.
Alex Lansdale, Liam Doherty, GMT, all with huge wing damage to their cars as well. It's going to be a hindrance for the rest of their races now, as we did see 3 wide, and we see Alex Lansdale going really deep with that front wing, maybe even choosing to retire it. But look, at this point, with that much wing damage, with 5 laps remaining, it's going to be so hard to recover anything from this race. But looking forward, Ben Mills has cut that lead down to 2.2 seconds on Ben Huskins in the lead, trying to chase down a race win here in the sprint, trying to be gaining huge amounts of points. We see Assassin J getting a late lunge onto the side of Tom Hug in the Audi to get through into P6 before the other Audi of Newt can get back onto the back of them. But Newt, alongside Luke Sawyer, picking up that penalty is potentially going to help them a little bit, with Voiter only 1.2 seconds behind of Newt, trying to follow them through the grid.
Luke Sawyer has made their move on Geek up into 4th place. He's gotten past Geek. Geek now wants to try and stay on board with Luke Sawyer, stay behind and try and follow them through on Alpha and stay within that 3 seconds to gain that position. As side by side, Sawyer is already passed and through into 3rd place as Alpha drops down to 4th. As we now head into the stadium section, it's all stays single file. Oh, big moment of oversteer, or was that a move there from Geek?
A little bit of aggression coming out from Geek. Would you like to see it though, on the back of Alpha trying to fight for P number 4, and with 3.5 seconds back to Assassin J, they're going to hope that no one else can catch up to him by the end of this race, and maybe even keep within the penalty range of Luke Sawyer. Unsure if it's 3 seconds or anything greater. We're going to guess it's a little bit of 3 seconds, but Geek trying to make that move on the inside is going to hold each other up a little bit, but it's going to get squeezed back out by Alpha on the back end. But does Alpha have anything left to respond with after defending on that main straight so heavily? He's going to close off the outside line and be able to defend successfully with plenty of battery remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Producer, for giving us the time penalty. There are the time penalties if you have not seen it. 3 seconds for Sawyer, 3 seconds for Newt, 3 for Domlab, 6 for Fred Monster, and 3 for GMT. So now Sawyer is going to be trying to extend. He's already up to 2.1 seconds as we now go side by side for the lead. Ben Mills trying to go round the outside of the Cadillac. Now going to be on the outside again for the stadium section. Surely not going to go all the way around.
No.
No, not this time around, as I've got a bit of buffer on my side. Do you want to take over?
Yeah, seeing them go side by side. Again, Geek gets the better exit, but we're going to see Alpha... no, we're going to see Ben Mills, sorry, thinking the wrong battle because of the pixels disappearing on my screen. Ben Huskey's going to try and refight back against Ben Mills, but without that overtake mode, without the extra power coming in, not able to out-drag Ben Mills down the main straight, and Ben Mills able to put up a good fight against Ben Mills, but not able to do much more about it. Ben Mills will now try and pull away from the rest of the field and have a comfortable margin of victory here in the sprint race. Sorry that I'm a little bit all over the place, but Luke Sawyer is 2.2 seconds behind, and that's something we know for sure. But the issue is that 3-second penalty is going to hinder them potentially on a P2 here.
Yeah, Geek has also gotten past Alpha, so they are now 2.7 and 2.8 seconds behind Luke Sawyer. So it's all dependent on how much Luke Sawyer gets caught behind Ben Huskis. Also, we've got two Bens, first and second. We've got a Ben. We potentially got a Ben front row here, ready for the main feature race. If Luke Sawyer isn't able to get past and create a gap, we've got 1.1 seconds, and actually that will be very difficult for Luke Sawyer to do. Is to in 2 laps pass and drive away from Ben Huskis by 3 seconds, but that is still a good starting place, third place, and really good for their championship challenge as their rivals, Voiter and Newt, all down the field in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, not able to get through the field as quickly as you may have expected from Newt Voiter, and then obviously Liam Doherty picking up a huge bit of front wing damage is what hampered their race very clearly on this accord. But Assassin J, you're definitely a strong driver that we can't disregard in any kind of way. So them being able to hold off Newton Voiter isn't too big a surprise, even if it is a little bit off a one. But Newt is unfortunately not going to be able to pull the gap on Voiter as we go back to Newt's teammate, Tom Hug, trying to make a move on the Mercedes teammate of ADK. He's trying to put up a defense here, but does also have that 3-second buffer with only 1.5 laps remaining. Might be able to secure this position as Luke Sawyer does get that move onto Ben Huskins with roughly a lap and a sector on their side to try to build that 3-second gap, which Ben Mills has pulled 4 seconds over already.
Yeah, we've also got to look at, so Geek will not be able to be close enough to the back of Luke Sawyer, but Luke Sawyer will be charging to try and make that 3 seconds. That would be very impressive from them to do so. You're talking about that battle between, as we now actually go back to Alpha versus Assassin J. Assassin J up to the inside. Is it going to be a slam dunk pass to the inside, or will Alpha decide to fight it? As they now go on the brakes, hard on the brakes, late on the brakes, goes Assassin J, switch back from Alpha and gets back underneath. Brilliant racing from the two of them as we now go towards the second chicane, and it is Assassin J going to be challenging back to the inside, but will Alpha decide to go all the way around the outside? They do try to go all the way around the outside. They'll have the inside line for the next right-hander as they now go into the tight parts. It's going to be Assassin J trying to go all the way around the outside. Will they be given the room? Yes, they will. And now they're going to have the inside line for the S's, and surely this is game over. And the position, 5th place for Assassin J. As we now go into the final couple of sectors, Ben Mills will be getting very, very close as the camera slots to him into the final couple of corners. Ben Mills, from near the back of the grid, will take the race win of the sprint race, and Luke Sawyer will finish in 2nd place now that Ben Huskis gets a 3-second time penalty, which means Geek will be starting from 3rd. Assassin J coming towards the line now in 5th place ahead of Alpha. Newt comes home in 7th, but will fall down to 8th behind Voiter. Then comes ADK in 9th. Tom Hughes will come home in 10th place ahead of Doherty, Domlad, GMC and Fred Monster.
Yeah, Liam Doherty just trying to recover any positions that he could. Will not be happy with P11, but it's better than starting down in P15, which Alex Lansdale will unfortunately be starting from after also picking up heavy damage earlier on in this race.
Ben Huskis must be quite disappointed with getting that penalty right at the last. They would have ended up starting from the front row if that wasn't the case. There's Fred Monster coming towards the line to finish their race, to finish the sprint race. But yeah, absolutely disappointing there from Ben Huskis, but it is a win for Ben Mills.
Ben Mills coming through with the sprint win will gain themselves an extra 12 points in the championship over everyone else who all trickles down the points. 12, 11, 10, 1 for 12, each of the top 12 drivers across the sprint grid, but also defining the grid order is always the more important part as we score so many extra points in that main race, where it's so crucial for these drivers to not have any incidents coming out of that first half, as it may affect their entire race in the end.
You also have Geek there, who's, well, you've got Luke Sawyer there in 2nd place from the back of the field to actually end up in 2nd place after penalties. well, actually second place on the road as well. But Geek also with a solid finish in third place. Can do some damage from there, and hopefully we're looking to get involved with the two in front of Ben Mills and Luke Sawyer. Those two are surely the favourites for this one.
Definitely going to be Luke Sawyer and Ben Mills for the race victory, unless we get any kind of strategic or different other indifferences in the race. We saw it at Canada though. Anything can happen from any driver at any point in the race, so we can never count out any of the other drivers who might be on a better strategy, as Canada also saw 3 different strategies from all of the race winning contenders. Voiter doing the 2-stop, Luke Sawyer and Alex Lansdale 1-stop starting from the medians, and then Ben Mills 1-stop starting from the hards. Might not have the same level of diversity here, but it will be interesting to see if we do.
I think we will see some diversity as we've got some of the faster drivers still further back in the pack. Will Alex Lansdale decide to do something different, starting from what will be last place? And also, you've also got to throw into the mix that point, it could have been Liam Doherty that took the race victory. It didn't end up that way, as the safety car didn't allow the queue to just queue up. It was only the top 3 that joined that queue, but that can really spice things up, especially if there's track limit penalties, which certainly seem to affect certain drivers, including Luke Sawyer, our last race winner.
Yeah, Luke Sawyer picking up penalties is a common occurrence, something that they need to stomp out in this championship to really help them in this championship fight, as they keep picking up penalties and have lost a few points at multiple rounds this season. Hopefully this time around in the main race, they won't pick up as many as they do have that clean start in P2.
Ben Mills as well ended up not having a penalty by the point they ended up in the wall after going wide in the final chicane at Canada. So they obviously was on track to be probably, I think, only one of the only drivers without a penalty, including also Liam Doherty, which was very interesting indeed. Let's hope that they don't end up losing their bottle this time, as they were very much on sites for a potential race win. They were in a very, very good position where they were that time around.
Obviously, 36 laps is quite a lot of laps to complete, as it's 3 times the race distance of the sprint race, leading to a huge position for having to get undercut to overcuts, as the higher the lap count, it means more time to get some lap delta if you're really willing to push it or not. We saw last time out that having the lap delta for Ben Mills didn't really matter too much. They just had a key pace difference over everyone else until the later phase. But we did see some quite extreme tire wear last time round, whereas this time, maybe it's not going to be such the same factor, depending on what the drivers opt into doing. But we do know that this track runs some of the hardest higher compounds, sorry, which means they don't necessarily dig too high, although this track can be quite high, whatever given.
Yeah,
still.
obviously a more abrasive track surface because of that, and you've just got track temperatures going into effect, and also a lot of the drivers will know sort of how the tyres wear after that sprint race as well. That will give them a good indication of how they fare with tyre wear compared to their rivals. Obviously, it's not quite the length of the sprint race in actual Formula One, but it will just give them that insight of actually who's looking good with tyre wear, and what potential strategies can come out of the 50% race.
Obviously, tire deg on a 50% race is doubled up to make up for the lack of 100% race distance. So, although the lap complete isn't as much, it's still relatively accurate to the real world race distance, as we will have a little bit of time to get into this next race, as we do always have to reorganize the grid compared to, and reset it to make sure it's the same as what the sprint race was.
Yeah, very much so. I think soon we will be going to the 5 red lights. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, one stop has been, from what I've seen, the go-to strategy, but it could change again.
Hopefully, though, in this main race, we do get some clean racing, no damage wings early on, because you saw that as a huge key factor that really changed up the race for some of the drivers. Hopefully, not seeing that again.
Yeah, that will take effect, especially that Alex Lansdale will be looking for a cleaner start. They had front wing damage happen to them as well at the Red Bull wing, where we saw that very comical floating front wing with no nose. That really started to make me laugh a little bit last. But they've all got to keep it nice and clean through those first couple of corners and then take every lap as it goes. That's going to be the way. And it's not the most difficult track to overtake, is it, Kieran?
Well, this track is plenty wide enough, as we saw in the sprint race, leaving plenty of opportunity to try and go side by side, let alone make an overtake. And that was a key factor in that sprint race, where we saw so many drivers able to at least re-challenge back due to the fact that the track gave them so much width. The issue is they need to be careful of these curbs, careful of the track limits, as we saw so many penalties racked up by some of the drivers in that last race. But also that those curbs can be so dangerous on the chicanes, and especially 1, 2, and the ones after the second main straight as well are quite vicious on the main orange curve that you see. The sausage curb can attack the cars quite heavily and maybe even leave them with damage that will prolong across the entirety of the race.
The other thing we've got to bear in mind as well, yes, it's very, very wide in the first part of the lap, but it can quite easily, or it does tighten up the track. And we saw that to full effect, where we went 3 wide briefly, which then caused contact as it all tightened up. And then that chaos was then turbocharged. I think it was was it the two Haas cars and one of the Mercedes going 3 wide? No, it was the two Haas cars and the Cadillac of Alex Lansdale going 3 wide into the end of the or the start of the second sector, which then caused contact in Constantina, and there was cars behind trying to get by or involved. I think Aaron ended up getting by all of them. So that contact can quite easily happen as you've got a wide track that goes to a very more narrow track in that second sector.
Yeah, that last sector is actually very, very tight now that you mention it. We saw that that arena section had a lot of chaos in that lap 1, as it does tighten up all of a sudden compared to the rest of the track. But also the S's, though they're wide, because of the angle of attack onto the corners, not necessarily the easiest to go through that section too wide either. But especially in these cars, but a little bit more agile though. It did seem to leave a little bit of opportunity to try and go side by side, though it did lead to risks of damage, as we saw in that sprint race. And that was the key zone where we did see some of that damage coming through.
Yeah, yeah. These cars are obviously a little bit more agile. It allows that little bit of extra racing, and hopefully, in years to come, I do hope myself, and I'm sure there's many people that back me up on this. That the Formula One cars of the future become even smaller. That just allow that little bit of extra bit of room and that extra bit of agility from the cars that we are starting to see in these formula rather than the heavy lumps that we had in 2025. I am enjoying the sort of lighter cars, the shorter cars, and the more nimble cars. It has created a little bit more racing, and certainly has shown some great racing in the BUSR this summer championship.
Yeah, it's had some amazing racing due to these new cars, allowing some really good side by side, but also some of that switchback, some of that battery management racing as well. The only issue is so long as the drivers have plenty good battery management, which has been a key part across some of these races. We've seen some drivers qualify extremely well and then just fall off a little bit more in the race, while others really do pick it up across the stints of the races due to being able to preserve that battery quite a lot better. Some of the key drivers on that battery management end do be Chris's Pinacoris and Voita and Newt. But on the opposite side, we see that Luke Sawyer has always been one who struggles. But with easier tracks like this in Canada on the Canada, it does help him out compared to how much Luke Sawyer did seem to struggle at Austria.
Yeah, yeah. Just sort of point of view from your point of view, Kieran. If you were in the position of Alex Lansdale, starting from the back of the grid, would you try something different? I know I certainly would try something different to try and get a bit of an alternate strategy. But what was your thoughts?
You kind of have to. If you just do the same strategy as everyone else, you have no chance of going further. As long as you have the confidence in your own pace to make it through the grid, you need to try and make the gamble to get as many points as you can when you're in a championship hunt. You can't leave anything on the table that you may potentially can get, especially when you're chasing from behind, as we have the 5 red lights build on the board, and Ben Mills will wait patiently to lead us away with his teammate sat behind him. Luke Sawyer to the right hand side of him, who's going to try and get that run down to turn number 1. We're getting a draft from Geek, who's going to go the long way outside, as we see Ben Mills trying to force Luke Sawyer to be a lot tighter, and then running back through, and even getting Geek to get on by to block off Luke Sawyer early on, who was behind. A hell of a lot of chaos, as we always see here, but no one seeming to cut the track limits like last time round. But Luke Sawyer already behind Geek, so gonna have to try and get back through to get back onto the back of Ben Mills, which is gonna be made hard by Geek, who's gonna play that teammate game for their teammate. McLaren trying to catch up to Ferrari in the constructor standings, but falls back behind Luke Sawyer, and they will concede the position for now and have to defend their move back from Ben Huskins, who was quite rapid in that sprint race as well.
Great start from Voiter up into P5. Interestingly enough, Alex Lansdale is no longer in this race, so he decided to throw in. Oh no, he is here in this race. He's in 13th place. Sorry, I did not see him on the grid. But as we now head into the last couple of sectors, and there is Alex Lansdale looking at him now as he's moved up 3 positions. They're side by side, just up ahead. ADK and Newt up into P10, but it is Ben Mills that leads. Luke Sawyer in 2nd, Geek in 3rd, then Ben Huskins, Voiter up to P5, Assassin J, Liam Doherty up to P7, and Alpha has lost a couple of places down to P8.
Yeah, interesting to see, as we do actually get a little bit of potential side-by-side from Ben Huskins, but he does slip back on in, but he gets a really good run onto Geek here. Both of these drivers behind Geek, very racy, very quick drivers, but he's going to have to try and put on the defense from. We saw how hard it can be against Luke Sawyer already into this corner, but this time has enough legs to deny Ben Huskins into the braking zone this time around, and will try to keep them behind for just a little bit longer and play that team game for Ben Mills. But good job by Voiter to get up to P number 5, and Liam Doherty up to P number 6. Meanwhile, New actually dropping down in the opposite side.
Team will be wanting to make as much progress as possible there. We've now got a bit of breathing space between himself and Voiter. There are possible strategies, but I'm going to guess that we'll be seeing at least one person try the one stop. But you have got the Mercedes and the Red Bull in 5th and 6th of Voiter and Liam Doherty. We'll be looking at Geek and Ben Huskins and going, we need to get by these two quickly so we can get onto the back and get chasing Ben Mills and Luke Sawyer in P1 and 2.
Pulling that 1 second as Luke Sawyer sets that fastest lap, trying to pull away from Geek as fast as possible to break the gap to Ben Huskins, but they both seem to be charging on by with that overtake mode, as we see Luke Sawyer also sliding by Ben Mills through into turn number 1 to solidify that position. But do you have any battery left, Luke Sawyer? We know this has been an issue for you so far this season, as we switch back to the Audis going side by side, making a bit of tire contact as well. Your teammates, you don't need to fight this hard, and this is just inviting Alex Lansdale to try and get past both of them in one go on those soft tires. Plenty of grip at hand, but not able to go, as both Audis continue to be side by side. But eventually Tom Hug will be the one that loses out to Newt, and maybe even to Alex Lansdale, but does get a good enough exit to keep P10. But just for now, as Alex Lansdale is on the hunt of that rear end already, even making a little bit of contact, that'll drop them off just a little bit before this next wing opening up zone. It'll give them a bit more speed, but if you don't have the run, it's going to be a little bit difficult to play that as we switch back to the front.
Ben Mills all chomping at the bit on the back of Luke Sawyer. Alex Lansdale, just make sure you're patient. You don't want to lose your front wing very early on like last time. We know what happened to that in the sprint race. We know that completely ruined your race. But here comes Ben Mills, closing to the inside, and will surely take the lead back, and cuts right in front of Luke Sawyer and decides, yeah, this is my position, and slams the door right in the face of Luke Sawyer, and now takes a lead. But will Luke Sawyer retaliate onto this back straight? I don't believe so. I think Luke Sawyer is just happy to sit there, and they keep trading that overtake mode. Now, you've also got Voiter that's moved past Geek. Geek obviously losing a couple of positions, and they will be now trying to surely make the move on Ben Huskins there in third place.
We've seen it 2 weekends in a row where drivers have tried to play the little bit of horsey game. One driver takes the lead, then the other one, using the overtake mode to try and slingshot themselves further forward. We may be trying to see the same thing here against Luke Sawyer and Ben Mills. If they want to solidify this top two just for themselves, they could play the games to pull away from Ben Huskins and Voiter, but they are still against each other in the championship in the end. It might be interesting to see if they do go ahead with that, as that huge main straight definitely opens up that opportunity, but it seems like both Audis have actually pulled away from Alex Lansdale this lap around and have picked up onto the back of Alpha, trying to make their way forward through the grid even further. Newt is already going to get really racy onto that back side with that wing flattened on out, using that overtake mode to try pull by, which we do see in front with Voiter occurring as well. But in the background, we do see that Newt switches in onto the inside line of Alpha, which is going to turn back to the outside line, but then back squeezing through on the inside, but they're actually going to force Alpha really wide, which is going to invite the overtake from Tom Hug to come through as well. And maybe they just play the team game to let Newt easily sit on by. Actually, Tom Hug tries to get the move back onto Newt on the inside line. Is going to have the huge favorable line at the moment as Newt is getting forced around the outside, and unlike Assassin J, isn't able to hold it around the outside, losing a huge amount of ground, and actually loses out to Alpha as well.
Wow. So, Newt overtakes a Alex Hughes, gets overtaken by a Tom Hughes, pushed out wide, and then an Alex Hughes comes back past him again. It is, rather than teammates, you got the brotherlyhood of Alex Hughes and Tom Hughes taking advantage and placing down Newt down into 10th place. It's interesting you talk about Ben Mills and Luke Sawyer. It's a bit of a cycling analogy of those two working together. Luke Sawyer has dropped off the back of Ben Mills slightly, whether that's strategic or not, but they've got to be careful. They don't want to lose too much time, because not too far behind, you've got Voiter there in third place, 2 seconds behind, a little bit of battling in the wrong place as into the pits comes Newt already. So I'm guessing there must be some sort of damage, or no, they're just going for the undercut very, very early, so quite clearly.
Not sure if you just cut out there on me or if you're still commentating, so just going to pick it up from there, as we do see that the pit stop does come out as you said. We see a couple of penalties, but not as many down the back end of the grid as well. But something I want to put the focus on is Geek has done a decent job at not being caught by Liam Doherty that quickly at the moment. Still 1.4 seconds between the two, holding on to that 5th place quite securely at the moment, as Assassin J still less than a second behind Liam Doherty as well for P number 7 at the moment, with Tom Hug and Alpha close behind that, and P8 and P9 as well. Top 10 all the way down to P number 9, very close together, not actually spreading out as far as we've seen in some previous rounds. But we see Liam Doherty reacting to Newt, coming in really early off of those soft tyres that are struggling for wear.
Yeah, Doherty certainly has been struggling for the pace. They haven't had the pace to match Ben Mills and Luke Sawyer and Voiter that they had done in previous rounds. Obviously, we saw them struggle at Kennedy last time around, but I thought that potentially that tonight they might be able to bounce back and show what they've got. Alex Lansdale currently sat in 10th place after the last couple of rounds, the last couple of strong rounds, but certainly not where they want to be, although being 12 seconds off, potentially they might have made a pit stop, although if they did, I didn't see it. Ben Mills, though, leads the way, and Luke Sawyer has dropped off that 1 second. So that is interesting. We've got yellow flags in Sector 2 as well.
Yeah, we've seen some huge differences in tyres, though. Some drivers are going for the softs, some starting on the mediums. Alpha, one of those drivers starting on the mediums, actually taking a huge off by themselves, dropping behind Domlab. But the gap back to Alex Lansdale was comfortable enough not to fall back down that far. But I think that gap has been grown due to pit stops, which means they're now in the middle of complete no man's land on a really damaged tyres at this point with how bad they seem to have gone off, and maybe they're going to have to switch up this strategy from these mediums very early on, but it does seem like they're going to keep on running unless they dive into the pit lane very late.
Yeah, they have dived into the pit lane. They've also got damage to their front wing as Monster gets himself another penalty. As there's a was that a car go slowly? It was. Alex Lansdale was going slowly on the outside. I don't know whether they've made contact with the wall, but Lansdale has lost an awful lot of time, and I don't know what's happened there, but unfortunately we missed it.
Yeah, Alex Lansdale back onto the back of Luke. Liam Doherty now also thrown into the fray. These three drivers now racing each other on this strategy. Maybe this alternate strategy for these three drivers could pay a huge dividends, but it's going to be a longer game to see if that even can occur, as Ben Mills, Luke Sawyer, Voiter, Ben Huskins all seem very strongly onto their strategy, especially if they're all on the same tyres. They were pulling away quite sufficiently at the start of this race.
Ben Mills' pace has been biblical at the start of this race on the medium tyres. There you go, tyre graphics coming out there as Voiter and Ben Huskis already into the pits on their medium tyres. That is very early, and certainly a lot of drivers deciding to go for that two-stop strategy. Is there going to be anyone that decides to go?
I even have room
and try the one-stop? That is the question on my mind.
Might even have room for the three-stop strategy. Normally the graphic in the game tends to give a pit stop strategy with an extra pit stop, but you almost never see anyone go for that. If anything, they go for the one stop or the lesser stop strategy, but we actually see a couple of penalties coming in. We see Tom Hug picking up a 10-second penalty with a collision with GMT UFC and potentially some damage as well, as we saw them partly sideways. That's a huge misfortunate event for both of the Hughes brothers now, having huge issues in this race.
Yeah, big issues for both the Hughes brothers. Yeah, there is Luke Sawyer there, 2.2 seconds away from Ben Mills, so certainly has not got the pace to keep with Ben Mills. As diving into the pits goes Ben Mills, and Luke Sawyer follows them in. Now, what does surely Geek has going to have to do another lap, otherwise they might get held up in the pit. No, they decide to go in as well, so hopefully they don't get held up, because I know the gate. Oh no! 10-second time penalty for Geek for speeding in the pit lane. That is their race going from what was a really great position to now is going to be in a bit of no man's land.
Yeah, Geek picking up a very unfortunate time penalties. We see Luke Sawyer coming out of the pit lane, actually falling behind the Mercedes of Voiter, losing a huge amount of time to Ben Mills, but luckily keeping the gap at least to Ben Huskins in P4 for now. But looking back at Liam Doherty, who of the drivers who pit early, he's now within 3 seconds of Ben Huskins, and gained some time there as well. Deep behind that, Alex Lansdale behind that, also gaining some time, and all of them getting past Geek, who also sits with that 10-second penalty.
Yeah, Geek has got a lot to do here, as we are behind on board with Ben Mills, as they are behind the Haas driver. That's obviously the only driver not to have stopped yet. Going to get really held up here, and this is what Voiter would be laughing at, as they are now in the 1 second window. To the outside will go Ben Mills, and surely he will go round the outside and job will be done. But Domlab has done an absolute blinder for Voiter, as long as they don't hold it back. As a little bit of oversteer through the last couple of corners from Domlab, as their rear tyres are surely degrading. But will this mean that Voiter is just a couple of tenths away from that magical overtake mode, and Voiter is now in a chance of catching Ben Mills and challenging for this race lead?
Yeah, Voiter gets into P2 ahead of the traffic of Domlab with a little bit of a gap to Luke Sawyer, but Luke Sawyer isn't that far away and very comfortably in P2 at the moment, with Ben Mills in P1 by 1.2 seconds over Voiter, though. Does re-break that overtake mode, as Luke Sawyer also gets past and still on the bubble to 1 second of Voiter as well. All three of the top three now very close together, and Ben Huskins doesn't want to let any of them get away before too long, as Domlab does get out the way with that blue flag.
Well, not blue flag, just decided to jump out the way. They don't have to let anyone by, as they are in currently 5th place, but they do obviously have to make a pit stop where everyone else here has already made one. Ben Mills is now put the foot down, put the hammer down, and trying to gap Voiter, and it is gone up to 1.9 seconds. Sawyer is up, closing onto the back of Voiter, and potentially is there going to be a move as they come round the last couple of corners? 4/10 of a second is the gap. Is there going to be a move as Ben Mills sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.628 in the slipstream is Luke Sawyer. Are they going to make the move, or are they going to just sit there? I think there might be a move coming as they close to the inside into turn one, and I've got a screen freeze.
Well, for me, I do see that Luke Sawyer did get successfully past Voiter on this occasion. Now, 2.4 seconds, though. They lost quite a lot of time while fighting each other for that position. Luke Sawyer did get past quite cleanly, though, over Voiter. But will Voiter have any kind of responses before Ben Huskins really starts to close up that gap as well? Within that 1 second window of 2, 3, 4 of each other now. And Voiter has plenty of battery to play with, but doesn't have the overtake mode. Well, Luke Sawyer, super low on that mode, but does have that overtake mode to hopefully help regenerate some of it. But clearly you can see Voiter closing it quite rapidly with that advantage. Looking back at it, though, we do continue to ride on board as I lose the commentator for just a moment. Ben Huskins has a poor exit out of the final corner, drifts quite far away from Voiter, so Voiter can go full on the attack as Luke Sawyer has no battery already, only halfway down the straight, and you can see the difference now. When you run out of battery entirely, it will make the move so easy as Liam Doherty gets into P number 5 past Domlab, making up for that sprint race, already getting into the top 5, but 5 seconds back on the top 4 on that slightly altered strategy starting from the softs. Luke Sawyer will try to get back, though. With Ben Huskins behind, it's always going to be difficult unless you get a good enough run, but Newt is now going to get past Domlab as well. This Traffic, who has gone so long, 30 laps on those hard tires, is now just trying not to get in the way too much and lose time on their own race.
You can quite clearly see why the two-stop is favoured in this situation. It is so much easier to, if you've got the battery advantage, just to make that move, which we've seen cars do a lot. And then as soon as you've got those older tyres, you can't fight back because you just got no traction. Lansdale up into P8 with their, I think they were the first ones to jump as GMT gets themselves a 3-second time penalty. Another one to add to their misery. But Luke Sawyer, closing on the back of Voiter, but Ben Huskis is also in this battle as well, and these battling is just allowing Ben Mills to run away with this race as through goes Luke Sawyer, breezes past Voiter and up into P2, but 2.7 seconds is the gap, and this is giving me flashbacks to Austria, where you got a car out front just gapping while two scrap behind is side by side. Geek and Alex Lansdale. Oh, it's contact. I think there was a little bit of contact potentially, or maybe Alex Lansdale got a bit caught on that curb, but tried the move on Geek and ended up getting caught out and dropping from onto the back.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ben Huskins at the very, very back. Looks like back into P number 2. We see all the way down. Alpha still in 14, now indicated 13. Tom Hughes 12. Looking back down the grid a little bit as we have a second between these 3 drivers who have been battling quite hard already, and hopefully it builds even further as we're only 14 laps in, only just barely over the sprint race distance. We do see that Geek will get into P7. It was into pit lane, actually had to retire, assume, as on the map, they overlap with each other as well. Oh, huge incident.
That is a big incident. As who's that? That is one of the Audis there. Is that going to cause an Audi now? Fred, oh, I don't know what's happened here. Fred Monsters now, they're all leaving the session. I don't know what happened here. Has the server decided to crash, or is that a red flag? I do not know.
Red flags don't happen, I don't think.
something catastrophic has happened.
Maybe not just a
Everyone
simple
seemed to have
crash.
left. I think the server might have just crashed after that incident between the two of them. Um, as
That
soon
was
as
a
we get
big eye crash.
information, we will let you know. But uh, if that holds, I don't know what's going on there.
Um,
So the game seemed to have just died. Everyone has left. Don't know if you want to get it back to us at the moment, producer, as we try and work out what's happened.
um, will it be full race distance restart? Oh, so that's our end? Oh, so because you rode on board with someone as a DNF, it just went. Okay, hopefully we get back in this with maybe a little bit of a technical difficulty on our side only. Hopefully the race is still ongoing and won't cause us any further delays as our producer gets a re-invite back into the lobby. Sorry for yet another disruption, as we will try to transition shortly.
Yeah, okay, so the race is still going. Alex Lansdale, yeah, under safety car conditions, as Alex Lansdale and Domlab having a massive incident. And this will be a sigh of relief for Sawyer, for Voiter, and Doherty. Doherty also back into this race. All closes back up, and also Geek is back into this race. Obviously, they had a 10-second time penalty, which they have now taken, which then now puts them back into the fight where they can make places up and hasn't got 10 seconds of time, which is a massive advantage as we've had another glitch by EA. We've got cars with no front wings once again. I am loving this from EO. It is absolutely hilarious.
Oh, it somehow got worse. We've seen no front nose cone. We now have no front nose cone and no front wing. I mean, that's
I
what
don't think.
happened to Alex Lansdale. It worked really well for him at Austria, so maybe it works well for these. Lack of drag.
I will say I think it was worse at Austria because you had no nose but a floating front wing, which completely disobeys the laws of physics. But like I was saying, Liam Doherty will be counting their lucky stars. They'll be closing back onto the back. But one thing I will say, Ben Huskis, with brilliant pace in the first half of their race, staying within the battle for the podium. So it's great to see them after starting near the front of the sprint. They've pretty much stayed there in the battle with the likes of Voiter and Luke Sawyer. Let's see if they can stay in that battle for the remainder of this race.
Ben Huskins, a driver we've seen a bit of a better performance of in the last season. The pace was a little bit better when they did show up in that last season. So maybe getting to grips with these new cars potentially is bringing them into the fray here at Mexico. Or maybe they just have a good setup that really helps them gel with this circuit just a little bit more and live up to the potential we've seen from them in previous seasons. Though, coming into this one, they have a hard challenge on their hands as we're now over half race distance with 3 drivers ahead. Liam Doherty, Newt, J, Geek, all behind, all plenty competitive, potentially wanting to ruin this amazing result from Ben Huskins, who'll be trying to grasp onto this as much as possible.
Obviously, one thing that is to know is any drivers with getting those 3-second time penalties for track limits have not been able to take their penalties. So that anyone with 10 can, and I believe has, because Geek obviously earlier had a 10-second penalty, now no longer has one. Other drivers as well, I think Alpha had a 10-second penalty potentially, but it's also a massive shame for Alex Lansdale after two brilliant races from their point of view. The last couple of rounds, a podium last time out, and then comes to this round, and it's pretty much, it couldn't have got any worse for them, to be honest. 2 DNFs in the sprint and also the feature race.
And the sprint race offering more points than a standard round, as we have the 12 points trickling down the top 12 instead of having only the fastest points for the fastest driver, leading to a huge loss in points here at this round for Alex Lansdale, driver who would have loved to see a lot better result than this, especially when Ben Huskins in the Cadillac is doing so well on the other side.
Yeah. Ben Mills, obviously, I don't know whether we've had any pit stops. Obviously, we've had some pit stops over the safety car, but due to our technical difficulties, we don't know who has decided to pit. Everyone seems to have decided to pit under those safety car. So it's almost like we've started from afresh, but everyone's on the same hard tyres rather than a bit of a mix of mediums and soft and hards that was the start of the race. Safety car is in this lap. So we are getting ready. When does Ben Mills decide to make the break? Does Luke Sawyer go with them? There's not much of breathing space between Ben Mills and the safety car, so there's not much room for them to just blast it, as surely I would have thought they have blasted it now. No, they're still backing them up. It's going to be all the way to the line. They go now, and now who is going to get the best hole shot? It is in the slipstream. It's Luke Sawyer. Are they deploying? Well, Newt is deploying. Oh my word! Going to the outside. There's many cars wide. We've got an Aston Martin on the outside there as they all try and challenge each other. And to the inside tries Doherty, and to the outside there, I believe that's a Saturday.
Oh.
Round goes Newt. Newt has gone round after trying to challenge for 3rd place, has now dropped down the field.
I was about to say, it's worst case scenario for Ben Huskins. All of the positions we said they want to be able to keep fighting for, they lose all of them on a simple race start. But it gets even worse for Newt. After trying making another position, ended up losing it and dropping it and spinning all the way back around, dropping down to P number 12 off of the back of the grid by a significant margin, surrounded by drivers with penalties, having a long way to now charge back with just about half race distance on hand. I mean, we're looking at the front. Luke Sawyer, it has tucked into behind Ben Mills, but Ben Huskins picks up a 3-second penalty to make their race restart worse even further as well. Seems like some drivers have gained, and some drivers, unfortunately, really not enjoying that race restart.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. These are the 4 that we probably would have been thinking would be battling for the victory, and they are 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the moment as we got side by side. Ben Huskins looking to the inside of Assassin J, gets the job done, but they've now got 3 seconds of penalties hanging over their head. Now, what can Geek do after relieving themselves from that penalty down in 7th place? Sawyer 1/10 behind, doesn't challenge into the chicane. But like I said, these 3 we thought potentially could be challenging for this race victory as they go through the sort of the mini stadium section here at the back edge of the circuit. But you wouldn't have thought sort of after the sprint that this would be how it ended up, all 4 of them in a train. But here we are with all of them within pretty much half a second of each other.
Yeah, all of them in a very good position. As Luke Sawyer, again, though, quite low on that battery. You'd probably want to see that number just a little bit higher, but Ben Mills not on the better end themselves. And this stadium section, we're really starting to see just how well it regens that battery. But of these top 3, Voiter very much in the healthiest position with a full tank to deploy. Liam Doherty with even less down in P number 4, and they've got that 1 second gap over Ben Huskins, which means it's going to be really hard for them to keep up with these top 4 as they try to just pull as much speed down the straight. But Luke Sawyer doesn't get a good enough run to even try and attack Ben Mills just yet. As we go through the first few corners that actually matter on this circuit, they're going to try and go at him again, but the exit speed just isn't quite there, and Ben Mills just deploys that battery knowing they can regenerate some of it through the second sector quite healthily as well.
Ben Mills has dumped a lot of their battery. They obviously want to try and keep track position, and You saw there, I don't think Luke Sawyer was too interested. As soon as they saw that Ben Mills was using a lot of their battery, they decided better off trying to use as much battery as possible to try and make the overtake. They decided just to save a little bit, so potentially they can stay in touch in this sort of section, and also when they need to use a battery, rather than just going for the overtake. As the lights flash for the recharge as they now head into the stadium section, and these four still nothing between them, and any four of these in this situation can win this. And I think we're still going to have probably another stop here to have, because otherwise those tyres are going to be screaming by the end of the race.
We've seen some really good strategies from the drivers. We've seen them have some really good tire life as well in some previous rounds. But the issue is, this track seems to be beating the best of them, especially on those soft tires, going about 7 laps only, and not really getting that much further, up to about 10, as we actually see Ute deciding to retire out of this race, not seeing the effort worth it to go any further with such a hard recovery drive on their hands, pulling out once again. As we do go back to the front of the grid, though, this is the main focus now until the end of the race. Some action might pick up behind, though. We do see Geek, Tom Hughes and Alpha all so close together, all behind Assassin J for all the way from P6 to P9 in a very close battle with each other, but then this main battle at the front as well, leaving Ben Huskins a little bit adrift in their own race at the moment.
Yeah, Ben Huskins very much in no man's land, just doing their own race. What they'll be hoping for is that it gets a bit more feisty at the front, and as soon as it does start to get feisty, as soon as Luke Sawyer makes a move, then that opens the floodgates to Baby Voiter making the move, and then they're both then low on battery. And that's the thing you've got to be very, very careful of, is if you do make the move, you've got to make sure it sticks, because if you don't get it done, you then end up being very on edge and very close to being done by the drivers being behind, because you've used all your battery, the drivers behind haven't, and you've been held up, so then they can just dump all their battery and take that position, as Assassin J and Geek go side by side through the third chicane, round the turn 2, up the inside into turn 3, and Geek moves up into 6th place. But now you've also got Tom Hughes going towards the inside, but also looking to the inside as well. Assassin J round the outside. Does Tom Hughes go? No, not this time around, as they all also battle, and that allows Alpha to close up in behind as well.
Very interesting to watch a car with no front wing go through these corners. Kind of hard to justify in my brain exactly where that front wing is meant to be, and if they're going to be making any kind of contact with it when I can't see exactly where it is. As just to remind you, this is just a visual bug on Assassin J's car as they defend again from Tom Hughes behind, successfully keeping that P7 at the moment with that glitchy looking but probably still perfectly intact front wing.
Alpha gets their first penalty. Alex Hughes getting a penalty there, 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Geek now going to be trying to chase down Ben Huskins, as they've got 3.9 seconds to try and chase down. Obviously, we've still got 12 laps left of this race, so plenty of race still to go. And there's also plenty of penalties that may still be had, which is obviously these penalties are becoming thick and fast. Not quite as thick and fast as Canada, but there might be drivers on two warnings or 1 warning. There might be some drivers on no warnings. We don't know at this stage, but these drivers have got to be very careful of that track extensions as they all string through the second sector. And it seems like to me that it's Liam Doherty with the no front wing. Not that he definitely does have a front wing, but it's just obviously that visual glitch does seem to be struggling a little bit more than the other 3 out in this front pack.
Yeah, the other 3 seem to actually be trying to get onto the back of each other a little bit, whereas Liam Doherty at the moment is just trying to keep up, it seems, with that overtake mode, constantly on the border of it instead. Having no room to actually have to check up for themselves is always a benefit to the pace that you can run, but clearly not having the pace to run up behind these drivers and actually slipping out of that 1 second mode, out of that final corner, but will try and keep back within it before they fall into the hands of Ben Huskins, who's been able to keep up relatively strongly considering the lack of overtake mode, meaning they're going to have to try and battle Ben Mills on raw pace alone to even keep up with this front pack. as we
Yeah.
do though keep it riding on board with Luke Sawyer, who has had huge issues with energy previously. We do see Geek actually getting a 3-second penalty in front of that train lower down the order, now having to defend with a 3-second penalty difference, but joining Alpha in this pack of drivers with penalties, leaving Assassin J and Tom Hughes at a major advantage.
Very much so. Doherty obviously will be wanting to try and close that gap before the overtake mode. Obviously, overtake mode is just on the exit of the final stadium section. The stadium section we are going through here. You might be able to see the board on our right hand side. There it is. I believe that's the board for overtake mode, just on the exit of the stadium section. And Doherty was not quite within that 1 second, I do not believe. But look at Ben Huskis closing that gap even further. They've quite clearly got the race pace of the front pack, but they've just not quite got onto the back with the overtake mode. So really impressive pace from Ben Huskis, as we've had changes for position further back. Geek has now dropped 2 places behind Assassin J and Tom Hughes.
Yeah, Liam Doherty significantly falling back out of that mode this time around 1.4 seconds, and bringing Ben Huskins just onto the bubble of that 1 second onto the back of them. Ben Huskins might still have a chance at getting into P in number 4 on track at the very least, as we see Geek falling behind Assassin J down in P at number 7, now having to defend from the back of Alpha, potentially dumping so much battery to even try and keep that position, as Alpha with that overtake mode pulls a little bit ahead of Geek, as Geek's trying to survive without that overtake mode advantage will actually allow the little bit of a nose sniff from Alpha on the inside line, but we'll close that gap before they think any more of it going through this tight and twisty section, where we really haven't been able to see anyone actually go side by side, even in this newer generation of cars.
Tom Hughes, Liam Doherty with 3 seconds worth of time penalty, and Ben Huskis has now closed up to the back. It's 0.6 of a second. So if they can dispatch of Liam Doherty quite quickly, can they get close enough to that second to be within the front chasing pack? Ben Mills still setting the pace, and Luke Sawyer and Voiter just seem very comfortable just to sit there, just look after their tyres. Potentially, are they just looking to look after their tyres to try and make it to the end of the race? That might be what they're all trying to do, because it is right on that edge of, do you go aggressive and go for another stop, or do you just try and stretch it out? And my thoughts will be, I know I said that potentially we'll probably be seeing at pit stops, but with how Luke Sawyer and Voiter are just seem very happy just to sit there, are they just trying to just extend this as much as possible?
I feel like if you're in the hands of Liam Doherty or Ben Huskins, especially if you didn't pick up this 3-second penalty that you would have to serve, I feel like it is very much at play for these drivers. You actually see an issue for IDK in the back, causing a bit of a yellow flag, but they do get back underway again. I do believe that these drivers, actually they pull off once again, having to get back on the track once more, maybe picking up some damage, causing them to re-spin the car. But yeah, if I'm Ben Huskins, who is now on the back of Liam Doherty with evened out penalties, so this move, if they make it, will be for position, but they've dropped 3 seconds on Voiter so quickly after losing overtake mode. Ben Huskins will not want to be losing any more time behind Liam Doherty, as they clearly seem to have a bit better pace at the moment in this stage of the race, as they fly on by, and now will try and secure this down this second straight, try and not lose any more time to that Red Bull driver, who already seems to be losing a little bit that iOS deployment with the clear flashing of the red lights as well. And Ben Huskins will secure it into the second sector. But I feel like if they didn't have the risk of falling within the traffic of Assassin J through Tom Hughes, this is an easy call for one of these two drivers just to try it, just in case. We do see Liam Doherty cutting the track, having issues trying to get around that corner at this moment. I, again, though, do feel if I'm one of these drivers, especially Doherty, who's now down to 5th, I would have pit if there wasn't a risk of getting into a battle that is completely unnecessary.
I'm wondering whether Liam Doherty, down in 5th place, has got themselves some damage to their front wing potentially. It's impossible to see because we cannot see their front wing, but have they clipped the back of one of these drivers in front? And is that because they have fallen off the cliff? They have completely fallen off the cliff, and they are attacking back on Ben Huskis in the background. I don't know if we can quite see them through. They are side by side in the background. There we are. We switch to them now. Looking to the outside goes Liam Doherty. Doesn't get the move done. Are they going to be able to challenge back onto this back straight as the straight mode opens back up? On board now with Liam Doherty. Do they decide to go to the outside line? They look to the outside, but they can't get alongside. But my thoughts are the drop off from Liam Doherty has been absolutely huge. So I'm wondering, and we obviously saw them go wide through the S section as well. Have they picked up a little bit of front wing damage that isn't enough to have to pit? Because they're quite clearly, I think, struggling with a bit of understeer through these high speed sections.
Yeah, potentially also something to do with tyre wear stuff. We always have to factor that in. They're going to be running really hard on tyre wear. Maybe Liam Doherty has already picked up some as they seem to be drifting really wide, and the rotation from the tyres just don't seem to be coming through as sharply as they might want this car to be. But that last lap previously to this warm-up that they've just completed might just be that little bit of a phase where you don't have that overtake mode, making it seem like you're completely off of the pace of the car that's only just passed you. But I do just see this car constantly just slipping and sliding in ways that does suggest that they are running with really poor tyre wear already, even though they did pit at the same time as everyone else. Maybe just not able to protect it in the same way, maybe found a lockup that we didn't see, or some kind of issue that has caused this increase in tyre wear.
Yeah, it's certainly either high tyre wear or some damage that they might have picked up, because they have really dropped off. Obviously, we cannot confirm whether they do have damage because the front wing is invisible, and I wish I could get myself an invisible front wing. That would be something that would definitely pay advantage to my own racing if it comes to Mazda. If I could have a invisible aerodynamics just to get that bit of advantage, you wouldn't be able to catch that one. But anyway, swiftly moving on. Ben Huskers and Liam Doherty are still close together, and you've got Assassin J about 8.2 seconds behind, so they're very much in their own little battle. And again, you've got that battle of four between 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th of Assassin J, Geek, Alpha, and Tom Hughes. The two Hugheses rearing that field, but Tom Hughes and Assassin J got that advantage because the only drivers in that battle without penalties. 5 laps to go here at Mexico City, and it's still free for the lead.
Maybe some of these real-life F1 teams should try and use some of this invisible technology that has clearly been found in these F1 games to develop a piece of technology that is completely outside of the rules restrictions, but is impossible to catch due to the invisibility of the mechanism. Maybe that's how Aston Martin catches up in the real-life championship. But looking at this actual fight, it does seem at the moment that it just seems that Ben Mills is completely in a calm and composed spot, having these two drivers on the back end. Not enough pace to completely drop them with this overtake mode that keeps them both at play, but not really ever being pushed hard enough by Luke Sawyer at the moment to really put on a challenge. But Luke Sawyer is hitting this track, is hitting a momentum and a rhythm with this overtake mode. They are actually now coming into this back end of the circuit with more substantial energy than what we saw earlier on in this stint, early on in this race as well. It's going to force Ben Mills to deploy that battery, but he just has enough, and he just teeters enough at that 50% mark where they have enough energy recovery to not entirely to give the opportunity over to Luke Sawyer, because Luke Sawyer's in this position behind Ben Mills. It doesn't open up the opportunity to Voita behind either as well. A little bit of a train occurring there, but when we go a little bit further back down the grid, Assassin J through Tom Hughes all still battling for this P6 position, where we have seen some battling and changes of position as these drivers have made some critical errors that have opened up a bit of an opportunity. But it's been Geek and Assassin J leading the way over the two Tom Hughes brothers for these positions on track. But the only driver of this pack now without a penalty is Tom Hughes, who can gain massively just by staying last in this train, but not picking up that penalty using this overtake mode just to keep up alone.
You forgot about Assassin J there. Assassin J also does not have a penalty, and has actually spread a bit of a gap there on the exit of that section. Ben Mills and Luke Sawyer still both just happy just to sit in their position. Neither of them really defending is very wide there from Geek. I don't know if that was a little bit of desync, but I'm surprised that they haven't got themselves another 3-second time penalty from that. But now, is there a challenge here from Sawyer? We saw how much battery they were holding on to, how much battery all three of these drivers are holding on to at the moment. None of them want to blink first, but someone has to blink soon, because it is 3 laps to go in this race, and anything can happen now between these three. When are the gloves going to come off, and who's going to make the first move?
It seems like that stadium section is so good at getting them that extra little bit of energy store built back up, but even having the overtake mode's beneficial attack speed means that there's no room for these drivers to attack each other. As we see behind, Voitzer getting a better run on Luke Sawyer, who had a really poor run through the middle of sector number 2 and has dropped massively off of the back of Ben Mills. Will still have overtake mode for the rest of this lap, but might be forced to use a little bit more of it to keep within that mode, as we actually see Fred Monster get disqualified for too many track limits violations and picking up too many penalties, pushing a bit past their limit too frequently in this one. But Luke Sawyer not going to be a challenge to Ben Mills this time around, has Luke Voitzer directly on that rear end as well. This is the best look they're going to get at Luke Sawyer, as they're further adrift than they have ever been to Ben Mills, but it still seems like they won't have enough.
Maybe that was Ben Mills trying to blink first, but if these two battle too hard, it will be handing Ben Mills the race, as they went side by side through the first part of the lap there. And look, an extra couple of attempts here, as now they both deploy, as they're going to look to go side by side. But as this is happening, Ben Mills is looking through the mirrors as they're still side by side. A bit of clip on the sausage curve. Looking around the outside is Voiter, as they're now going to be so close. A little bit of contact mid-corner. Round the outside, we'll try Voiter. We'll then surely have the inside line for the S's, but it's not going to be enough. But look now at the gap between Luke Sawyer and Ben Mills. Ben Mills was loving this.
Yeah, gets that 1.3 seconds and now can push the pace. He doesn't have to defend from Luke Sawyer anymore. Doesn't have a threat from that Ferrari that's been looming on them for so long in this race. This has opened up the opportunity for Ben Mills to run away with this race, going on to the second to final lap and pull the gap with the pace that they have been left storing for themselves for so long. They have a bit of freedom now, but this time around, Luke Sawyer won't have that overtake mode. What can Voiter do?
What can Voiter do? Indeed. But what that seemed to do, I don't know whether it was Ben Mills using a little bit of extra deployment through that middle sector just to try and get a bit of an advantage. That gap then enabled Voiter to go, right, I need to make my move now or never. Otherwise, Ben Mills is gone. By making that move, Ben Mills is now gone, and now it is between these two for second place, unless Ben Mills makes any sort of mistake. As they now head into this right-hander, and there's surely not going to be a move into this last couple of bits, but we are almost onto the last lap here, and it is Voiter that leads, it is in behind Luke Sawyer for second place.
Luke Sawyer will lose 1.6 seconds now. That gap has grown 3 tenths to last lap, and Ben Mills has enjoyed this very thoroughly as Voiter trying to get racy at a different point in the circuit. Luke Sawyer's going to have to pull out the entirety of their skill set, lift off any kind of sandbagging. The tyres might be fading away, but it's just one lap. As long as it's not in the red, as long as it's not a puncture risk, try and eke out every last bit of performance out of yourself, moving right across the track, moving back across to the left, trying to break off the slipstream before we hit the braking zone where you can't make any more moves, and decides to go around the outside, which opens up the dive bomb from Voiter, but it's a little bit too late, a little bit too far away to make the substantial move onto Luke Sawyer, and we'll have to wait patiently again for this second straight. They have a bit of energy left at the deployment, but Luke Sawyer has the answer into this second heavy braking zone, as we do see a better line coming out of Voiter through into this state complex of corners, but they're not going to be in a position to make it overtake here, as it's such a short run into the back half of sector number 2, which is going to leave only the entry to the stadium section for the overtake to occur.
Yes, very much so. And Luke Sawyer still holding on to this second place, but I'm sure that Voiter has a little bit more battery as Tom Hughes gets himself a 3-second time penalty. There's a couple of corners left to go, and it will be Ben Mills and surely as there's a little bit wide. There's contact between the two drivers. To the inside will go Voiter. They're still going to be side by side, but we will surely go to Ben Mills that will take victory here at Mexico City. Luke Sawyer will hold on to second place ahead of Voiter that will go into third. Ben Huskis goes fourth ahead of Liam Doherty, but that was very close indeed.
Redemption for Ben Mills. Issues at Canada caused them to DNF out of the race, but they come back strong with a race of victory over Luke Sawyer in P2, who successfully defends from Voiter in a heavy effort in the dying stages, as we see Assassin J survive in P6 and Geek eke out a big enough of a gap over Tom Hughes to stay in P7, and Tom Hughes jumps their brother for P8 over P9, and then it's only G&T and IDK who round out the rest of the drivers who didn't end up DNFing out of this race.
Tom Hughes actually got a 3-second time penalty at the end there, which allowed Geek to get that position back. Assassin J, the only one of that pack, but it was Ben Mills that took the victory, controlling the race really, really well. And I believe, is that his first victory of the season? So a massive congratulations to Ben Mills, taking their first victory of the season, a podium for Luke Sawyer, and brilliant recovery drive. And actually, the front row was the way they finished that race, with a brilliant last charge there from Voiter. And we will obviously be able to speak to all three of them very, very shortly in interviews, as we have now lost Kieran. So I will hold on to it for a little bit until we get him back. But brilliant race between the three drivers at the front, and I've got to say that it was very, very close, and I thought it could have ended in tears there, but they kept it out of each other's way and out of the wall as well. And very, very impressively from the front three as well, none of them getting a 3-second time penalty. I also want to give a shout out to the other Ben in the race as well, getting a 4th place finish, very, very close to the podium position. So from, I believe that was probably their best result in the season. Let me just double check that on the standings. I believe that is their best result this season from them. So again, great performance from them here this week or this Saturday. So yeah, really, really good. I don't know if I'm going to end up having to do the interviews by myself, as it seems that Kieran is continuing with these technical difficulties. So yeah, but okay. So it turns out that he is not having to go anywhere else. So I'll have to do these interviews by myself. I don't know how long it is till the. Are you unmuted now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Here, my beautiful.
Oh, lovely stuff. What did you think of that from behind the screen of the producer?
Utter chaos. I thought it was brilliant. There was some interesting moves from a few drivers there.
Certainly
very exciting.
Certainly a very interesting move between the two of them on that last lap, and certainly seemed like a very last-ditch effort.
Yes, definitely a last-ditch effort. Possibly some weaving on the main straight from Luke.
Yes,
possibly. But you know, what's a little bit of rule breaking, eh? What's a little bit of rule breaking between friends? So they are waiting. And so we will we'll drag in Voiter first of all. I'll let you do the honours of asking the main questions, and we'll
Okay.
see how he found the race.
Hello, hello, Voiter. Another podium for you in the bag, and yes, how was that race for you? There is obviously a last-ditch effort towards the end. Have you and Luke kissed and made up after the weaving in the last-ditch effort, or are you at each other's throats?
No, it just. I mean, I'm not racing next week, so I'm like clearly out of the contention. So I just wanted to go for it, and I just wanted to have the lead at least for a second, but I was just unable to do so. And I don't know. I'm gonna try something for the result, but I don't think anything's gonna like. I'm trying to go for like a penalty, but I don't think that's gonna be one. So it was just fun racing. I mean, I was just trying to go for. I was just trying to push, look for to go for a ban. He had opportunities, but he just didn't want to. And then I don't know, he kind of just dropped out a bit, and so I was trying to seek my opportunities, but I just couldn't on the straight. I mean, even with the full battery overtake, you just can't overtake when you're like 4 or 5 tenths behind at the start of the main straight. So yeah, but it was fun racing. I enjoyed it.
You sort of said about obviously penalties being applied. Are you able to go into a bit more detail of where you feel like you might have been a bit hard done by?
Unsavory join on the last lap
Okay.
from Luke.
Okay.
Just laughing, yeah. So he knows it's not gonna work.
Josh in the background obviously is with us as well. Josh, do you want to ask a question as well?
Yeah, I think we sort of missed the melee of the safety car as the game decided that Ben had won the race on lap 5 or lap 15 or whenever it was. What was your thought process behind pitting under the safety car? Was it just like I have to do it as everyone else is doing it, or was there a particular reason for it?
No, I mean there's like what 20 laps to go, or with 3 or 4 laps under the safety car. I was like, yeah, I'm surely boxing. Like I needed fresh tires. I mean everyone did, and yeah, on the restart I kind of forgot to press the boost, so then I had Newt right next to me. I was able to defend him, but yeah, kind of crazy, and yeah, Husky behind me lost out a big time. Yeah, I mean the safety car. I mean it was quite clear for me. I'm boxing. Like there's no point staying out. I'm gonna lose a whole pit window. These hearts can last a century. So yeah, it was a clear thinking from me.
Brilliant. And title aspirations if things go wrong for Luke next week? Still on, maybe?
No, I mean we have Chris is returning for the final 2 rounds now.
But you're about 30 points ahead of him.
If it's not Luke, it's Chris's. You know, I kind of think like that. And Ben, I think Ben Mills is gonna be in like top 3 now. I don't know, maybe with the win, but I mean he's gonna bottle it like sooner or later. We know him. So yeah, I think my money at the moment is for Luke.
Well, massive congratulations to yourself and another podium in the bag for you. I think next we'll bring in last time's race winner, second place today, Luke Sawyer.
Perfect. Let's bring him in. Hello, Mr. Luke.
Hello, Josh.
You've just been coined the favourite for the championship by Voiter. Apparently, there was some unsafe rejoining on the final lap that stewards may be looking into. Some weaving on the final lap. It all kicked off right at the end. How did you find that race?
Quite good. It went better than I anticipated after practicing. The mediums just felt absolute trash. so I didn't expect to be that well versed on the first stint on the mediums, but it went probably as best as it could have possibly gone. And then keeping with Ben during the hard stint was kind of just the best outcome. I wanted to go for it, but my hards just gave up right when I needed them. So yeah, it was a good result. I'm happy with it. There was nothing more I could have really done. So happy days. Back to being Mr. Silver Medal.
Let's look back also to your drive in the sprint race. All the way up to second place, by far the most amount of places made by anyone in that race. You must be happy with second from last in that sprint race.
Yeah, it's nothing more I could have done. Didn't go quite to plan because I somehow managed to get 5 warnings in 12 laps and then only get 1 in 36, which I'm a bit puzzled by. After everything that went on lap 1, turn 2, I ended up getting 3 illegal overtakes because I had to go onto the grass, which wasn't ideal. But it didn't hinder me that much. So, yeah, last to P2 is solid. Very happy with that. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have had as good of a race today as I had. So,
Yeah, and obviously you were talking about how you wanted to challenge. I'm guessing you were very, very happy with just for the majority after the safety car just to sit in the overtake mode, sit in the slipstream of Ben, and then plan to make an overtake towards the end. And obviously, you didn't quite have the grip when you needed it, but I'm guessing that was your plan.
yeah. But unfortunately, when I needed my tyres the most is when they decided to sort of start fading and giving up. And by that point, it was more looking behind me to Voiter.
Well, massive congratulations. And yes, on to Las Vegas next week. You shall go.
Aye.
And yeah, what's your thoughts coming into the last couple of races?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to get my hopes up. I want to keep myself grounded just in case things don't go to plan. But I've got a sort of healthy lead to Ben. I know Voigt is missing next week, and with Newt's DNF today, he's out of the picture. And I've got Chris is coming back to be a prime Sergio Perez. So fingers crossed everything falls into place. Who knows what could happen?
Nice battle between teammates. Thank you, Luke. So on to our race winner now.
Yeah. Thank you, OBS. Apparently, doing things on
Okay.
another tab does not work. Still keeps keyboard inputs. Good to know.
So-
We'll drag in Ben anyway.
Let's drag in Ben Mills. Ben, massive congratulations on your first victory. Pretty much a perfect Saturday for you.
Yeah. I'm very pleased. I feel like I really haven't optimized my results this season, so it's nice to be on the top step. And I felt like the pace was good and execution was okay. So, pretty happy.
And talk us through the last couple of laps. You seem to all of a sudden, out of nowhere, break a bit of a gap through the middle sector, and then I'm sure you were looking in your mirrors and then saw Luke and the two behind
Pointer,
going,
yeah.
going side by side. I'm sure you were licking your lips, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite comfortably in the lead by a few seconds before the safety car came out, and I think I was just going to manage it to the end. So I was quite comfortable, but then the safety car put those plans aside, and it just meant the second stint I wasn't as comfortable on the hards at least, but I managed to keep the lead the whole time. And then when I saw the gap to the guys behind in the last couple of laps, I was like, yeah, I could just cruise to the end.
So provisionally, I've done some very quick maths with the spreadsheet. Provisionally, you're 2 points behind Luke with 2 rounds to
I
go.
don't think that's right. I think it's 24 points.
No, because drop rounds.
Luke has missed a race.
Has he? Oh, my spreadsheet's broken.
Yeah.
Well, 24 points with 2 races to go is very easily doable. Is it
I
possible?
don't know about very easy. I don't know about very easy. It's definitely possible. But it's going to have to be almost near perfect from me. And they're going to have to hope something goes wrong for Luke. So, I mean, we'll see, but I'll just do my best and see what happens.
You got plenty of people at the front that are nice and fast, and you've hit a bit of momentum after a little bit of bad fortune and frustrating, obviously, drives from yourself with Canada crashing out. But you've now got the momentum with you, so surely that's got to be worth something.
Yeah, hopefully I can continue with a top 2 finish next week. Or to podium at least. But yeah, I am kicking myself over the crash in Canada because had I just cruised the P2, I would have been in the lead. So, but hindsight's a great thing, and I can only push next week and the week after that.
Well, massive thank you and a massive congratulations for your double victory tonight.
Thank you.
Right. Awesome.
Okay.
Cheers, Ben. Well, that was a race.
It was a race, yes.
Chaos from start to finish. We were missing nose cones, a random podium celebration on lap 15 to spice things up. Personally, I couldn't have asked for anything more because that was just utter chaos. Do you have any closing remarks, Mr. Adam, before we call it a night?
Yeah, brilliant race, and it just also shows that no matter where we end up, it's always quite close at the front. I will also wish everyone the best of luck for Las Vegas next weekend, as I will be deciding to go elsewhere and driving my Mazda X5 at Cadwell Park. So if anyone fancies to pop in and watch that on the live stream for BUSR, feel free. But yeah, best of luck to everyone next Saturday, and I'm sure that it's going to be a great race, and I'll be watching from my Sprinter van on my phone, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well, that is everything from an absolutely chaotic round 6. We've got 2 rounds to go. There's just 20 odd points, 30 points separating the top 4 in the championship, so we couldn't have asked for a better end to the season, really. It's the closest we've had in years, so who knows how it's going to go. I personally cannot wait, and we will see you next week. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.